Good morning, moms. Oh my gosh, I'm the one with a throat allergy, not you guys. Good morning. Fantastic. So I don't know about how your Friday went, okay, but this is how my Friday went, and I wrote it down, okay. It started at 6:35 a.m. I'm buttering toast, I'm answering a work WhatsApp, I'm mentally adding buy dog food because my dog looks starved. Spoiler alert, he's not starved, he's 2 kgs overweight. I'm trying to remember if I signed the school consent form and I'm thinking, did I defrost a chicken for dinner? And the middle of that, my daughter walks in and says, Mommy, what is the capital of Peru? And I tell her Lima, and no, you cannot have cake for breakfast. Okay? So, welcome to being the chief operating officer of your household without the CEO's salary and without the executive assistant. Okay? We call this the mental load. And I want you to know it is a measurable strain on your brain. Okay? So, my name is Namita Kutty. I'm an executive coach, leadership facilitator. Super excited to be here for sure, right? And here's why I want to talk about what I'm talking today. I've been in boardrooms with CEOs. I've also chased school buses in my slippers. Okay? I have led global teams, but I've also packed 3 lunch boxes in under 10 minutes. That's an achievement for those of you who know how chaotic that can be. Thank you. So I'm someone who knows this inside out, right? A little bit about me. For 20 years, I've been in HR. I've been a head of HR. I've done my, I've studied at Wharton School. I did my fellowship at Wharton School. I'm certified in a lot of, assessments when it comes to Gallup, Hogan, Enneagram. I'm fascinated by what makes some people succeed wildly, right? And some people put in the work, but they don't succeed as much. That's something that's been of an area of interest for me. To this impact now, I also study a little bit of applied neuroscience and psychology. I work with experts in this area. I am not an expert. I work with experts to see how can we get the academic rigor of psychology, academic rigor of applied neuroscience into your day-to-day life. Okay? So, I'm going to ask you to do a small activity along with me. Okay? I told you how my Friday morning went. Okay? I want to see how your day is. Okay? And what are you carrying in this invisible backpack we all call super moms, right? Society has given us this kirdar, tum super mom ho. You can do everything, okay? And it's invisible. It's strapped to your brain, okay? This poor brain is carrying this invisible handbag. I want you to see how many of these things you have, okay? Now, if somewhere on the back of your mind you have doctor visits, raise your hand, okay? I see some hands going up. Teams call, school pickups. Okay? Okay. No, keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. Now, if your hand is already up, raise the second hand. Okay? Snacks and tiffin boxes. Is this somewhere in our brains? Okay. Very good. HR forms, compliance trainings. If both your hands are up, raise a leg. Okay? School WhatsApp chaos. Those lovely school WhatsApp groups. Oof. Boss's late night pings. 9 o'clock he messages saying, presentation kal hai, right? Homework check, family WhatsApp groups. Yeah, good morning. And then you will have messages saying, you didn't respond to my good morning. Okay. Presentation drafts. Okay, now if you've already raised both your hands and a leg, tilt your head. Okay? Birthday party planning, not yours. Nobody's planning yours. We are planning somebody else's. Who is in office, who is remote? Parent-teacher meeting, middle of the week, noon, right? They will not give you on a weekend and all PTMs. Everybody's deadlines, not just yours. Your daughter's homework, your son's homework, your husband's deadline also, you'll start worrying. Diwali gifting, I've already started. Haircuts, bills, birthdays. If you're still there, okay, deep sigh, okay? Take a deep breath and sigh, okay? This is what is there in all our invisible backpacks. All right? This, my friend, is what you are carrying. This is the invisible load, right? It's not just the doing, it's the anticipating, the tracking, the reminding. You are your home's Google Calendar, right? You are your home's, I can see how many people You're sitting at your desk maybe, but what are you thinking of? Pediatrician's appointment. Mother-in-law's birthday, you can't forget. You can forget your own birthday. Cannot forget your mother-in-law's birthday. Right? Field trip snacks, tomorrow's work. The headquarters, no matter what you do, is in your brain. And frankly, it's exhausting. Right? So here's a little bit of neuroscience about it. Why does this feel overloaded? Right? Some of you told me that you saw a video that I posted, a short one, right? And that talks about the first part. Your brain is designed to hold 4 to 7 things at one time. We did that activity. If you were still continuing, you'd all be like this, right? So we have 40 to maybe even 70 things somewhere in the back of our head, right? So what happens? Things start to drop off. Second, context switching. Now you're constantly switching context. It can take up to 23 minutes. You're working on a presentation, your daughter walks in, Mama, snacks. You stop, you go, you give snacks because, hey, you have to feed your child, right? That's our bread and butter as a mom. So you take a break, come back. It's going to take you time to refocus, right? Stress response. Amygdala is sort of your brain's alarm dog, right? The amygdala, way like, before, once upon a time, it was trained to keep you safe from saber-toothed tigers and, woolly mammoths and all that. Unfortunately, we have grown, we've evolved so much, the amygdala still gets equally stressed. Your daughter comes crying, Mama, that's it, your amygdala is on high alert, right? Default network hijack, in the sense that when you're so busy with so many things in that invisible backpack of yours, where do you have time to be creative? Right? Your creativity will take a dip. And the second part is, why do we do this, right? Because we've been told this is how a good mother is, right? We've been brought up, and I'm sure Meghna will know a lot more about this, so I'm not going to get into her area. But essentially, we moms function as the emotional thermostat, not just at home, but also in office, right? Lastly, social conditioning. We're told to lean in, right? Lean in at home, lean in at work. Anymore, you'll be flat on the couch, right? That's all the leaning we're going to do. And what happens when you're running on empty? You're going to get snappy, you're going to get exhausted, you're not going to be your creative self, and of course, stress, right? Which is why I loved Shikha's session. I thought it was a fantastic stress buster. All right, this is just to show you and prove to you, ladies, that we have metrics on our side. Okay, there has been research that talks to you about. I'm not going to get into all of it, but know that switching and multitasking leads to about 40% productivity loss, and two, women contribute to up to 75% of the global unpaid work. Okay, I know you're all with me. I'm preaching to the choir, so I'm not going to spend time on this. Now, Aishwarya Rai told you that when she brought in L'Oreal, 2010 or whenever, that for 5 problems, she'll give you 1 solution, okay? Now, I will give you 5 solutions for the same problem, okay? So the first one is called the Eisenhower matrix. Okay, I do this a lot with my clients. I work with executives, senior executives. This is one of our go-to tools, right? So the first step is making the invisible visible, right? Make the invisible visible. Write down everything that is on your mind. Write down every single thing that's on your mind, okay? Then start to classify. What is urgent and important? Right? So your child has fever, needs a doctor visit, no brainer, we need to go. Boss asks for a client deck that is due today, no brainer, we need to go. Trust me, we moms are champions, Olympic-sized champions at the first one, quadrant 1. Second is quadrant 2. Now this is interesting. This is what is important but not urgent. I'll give you an example. Scheduling your own health checkup. Own health checkup, not the bachas, not the husbands. It's important, but it's not urgent. We'll do it, I feel okay, I will get by. Career development, certifications, and I'm so proud of all of you in this room because you are here in the quadrant that makes sense. It's important, it's not urgent, right? So this is a beautiful example of where we are playing in quadrant 2. Also date night, okay? Somewhere, along the way, please schedule. Yes, Meghna's like, go for it, you did that, right? So schedule a date night, right? So that's maybe not urgent, but definitely important, and I'm sure Meghna will tell us why. 3 is urgent, not important. Now, this is a fun one, okay? Answering every school WhatsApp message. That everybody will ping saying, Aaj kya hua class mein? It's okay. Take some time off. Family groups, like I said, those good morning things, colleagues' request, your child's request, your husband's request that they can solve. Last quadrant is the delete quadrant. Okay? Is not urgent, not important, minimize and drop. So this is your doom scrolling at midnight, rereading your email 10 times before sending, redoing your child's project. The child is happy, child has said, I'm done. You're like, no, no, my child cannot take such a shoddy project. Trust me, I have done. I've sat up late nights redoing my child's project, right? So we women, like I said, are brilliant at the do, at the plan. When we need to take some time off for things that is not urgent but important, we're not so great. So let's spend some time on that, okay? Another list, and this is one of my favorites. Everyone tells you do a to-do list. Today I'm here to tell you do a not to-do list. Okay, what is a not to-do list? Again, write down everything that you have. Then start putting off what is other people's responsibilities. I'll give you an example. You gave your husband or partner something to do. Does it get done the first time? No. What do? I'll do it myself. Right? Sorry, no offense to the gentlemen here. They're all giving me dirty looks. Right? I am sure you guys do the chores your wives assign you to. But yeah, so how do you not do that, right? Things that are outside your control. If your boss pings you at 10 in the night and says you need to work on this, it's okay, right? It's not your job, really. I'm sure your job boss will understand if it comes the next day. Things that drain you. So what's outside your control? What drain you? Things that can be left undone, right? Sometimes you have a birthday party, you're like top to bottom, it needs to look like a Pinterest, Insta-worthy event. Maybe you can take it a little easy on yourself. What do you need to do, right? Sleep, like actually get some rest, some quality time, and crush the couple of projects that actually matter at work. All right, I love this one. Eat the frog. Any guesses what this could be? Yeah. Yes. What is your MIT? What is your most important task for the day? Take the ugliest, scariest task that you have for the day. Do it in the beginning. The rest of your day is dessert. You eat that frog, rest of your day goes like dessert, right? Lastly, this I recommend for whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, right? There are days that you feel really, really overwhelmed. You're like, man, I cannot do this, right? Those are days where you need to do this. Circle of control is what you have control of inside you, within you, right? Your thoughts, your habits, your action. Circle of influence is what you can influence. I can't control my child's grades. I can influence it. I can help her, right? And out is what is out of our concern, right? It's out of my control. It's concerning. Bangalore traffic, right? Biggest example, Trump's policies. I can't control it. I can be concerned about it, but spend 80% of your time in what you can actually control. Lastly, try and figure out for your life what is the rubber ball, what is a tennis ball, and what is your glass ball. A tennis ball, you can throw it down, my dog will get it and he will not give it. I wanted to get it to demonstrate, but he said no chance. Glass ball is your health, your relationships, right? Your child's health, you can't drop that, right? So figure out in your life what it is. Also, one last tip for this, I also use the Pomodoro technique quite often, right? Pomodoro is just very simple, 25 minutes, you will not be disturbed and you will work, right? Shut off your phone. I put my phone on silent, close the door, right? It's just me and your laptop or whatever you're working on for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, take a break and go back and see what's happening. Yeah. All right. For this activity, I'd like for you to just take out your phones. Just take out your phones. Just go to any notepad or any message and type out this. The gentlemen, you please feel free to type out, I am an audacious man. For the women, I'd love for you to type out, I am an audacious woman. Okay? And then type out the numbers 1 to 20. As soon as you're done, please put your hand up. Just type it out. Just, I am an audacious woman, 1 to 20. Who's done first? I want to see who's first. As soon as you're done. Okay, done. Okay, stop. Good job. I think most of us have kind of got there. Brilliant. Quite a few more hands. Okay, now we're going to switch it up a bit. Okay, I want you to now write I and 1, A and 2, M and 3, Ah, I, the letter I, and the number 1. The letter A and the number 2. The letter F, I can hear you say, oh. Wow, you're done, ma'am. All right. Okay, stop, 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 stop. As you can see, this is taking a while. Right? Why? Why is this taking a while? Because you're switching, you're constantly switching, right? You're switching between numbers and alphabets, right? So, what does this tell me? You can't solve a problem by thinking about it in the same way that caused it. So, we need to figure out some way we can change the way we think as well. In the first section, we cleared our space. We said, let's take everything, we'll figure out what we don't need to do. We have cleared the space. Now, in the second section that we are going to move into now, we're going to see how can we think differently so that we reduce the chaos in our own brains. Yeah? Okay. How many of us think leadership is assertive? Show of hands, please. Leadership is assertive? Yeah? Okay. How many of us think leadership is goal oriented? Show of hands. Okay, good. How many of us think leadership is empathetic? Oh, what a lovely room I'm in. Give yourself a round of applause. That is so beautiful. That is lovely. That has not happened in any room, and we have done this so many times. And lastly, how many of us think it is relationship oriented? Lovely. I can see a lot of yeses. Yes, lovely. Okay. Now, I'll also explain to you what is the double bind. Now, there was a researcher called David Bacon, who back in 1966 coined the term agentic and communal. Agentic is, assertive, decisive, confident. Communal is warm, empathetic, nurturing. Now, when women come into the workplace, Alice Eagley, a researcher in 1980s, found an interesting phenomenon called the double bind. Now, what she said is leaders are expected to be traditionally assertive, decisive, confident. Now, people expect women to be warm, empathetic, nurturing, inclusive. Now, what happens when a woman wants to be a leader? Right? Then she has to be assertive and nurturing. She has to be independent and collaborative. It's a competence versus likability trap. Make sense? Right? Have some of you faced this? Yeah, some of you face this, right? If you need to be assertive, but if you're too assertive, what happens? They call you all kinds of names. I'm not going to take that name on stage. Right? But we know nobody wants because the moment a woman is assertive, they call you aggressive. So you try and be nice. You start to worry, oh my God, what is the person thinking about me? So what happens here? Right? So what happens is, before I come to that, it's similar to the switching that we just did. You did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you wrote, I am an audacious woman, right? So think about it in a work context. You're working on something, right? You're seriously working on something. But then the moment somebody comes and says some random remark, suddenly you're like, oh my God, is that person upset with me? Is he angry? You're switching. Then you want to be nice to that person. Right? You're trying to be assertive, but then suddenly you realize you need to be inclusive, empathetic, collaborative, all of that. So you're constantly switching, right? And it's difficult to give yourself like an authentic way to lead. And frankly, that's where I struggled for many years, right? For the longest time, initially I thought leadership was very hierarchical, and then I thought, no, it's very aggressive. I worked in a European bank. I was in Deutsche Bank, and I thought, okay, this must be how it must be. You need to be very aggressive. You need to be very cutthroat. This is the way to go. Then I went into an American retailer, and they were super nice, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is the way you should be, right? So I think what I was trying to work on is an authentic way for women in India to lead. I've been working on this for the last 18 months. I've been joined by my very dear friend Shreya Krishnan. You'll probably see her in the evening. Some of you who know her on Instagram will know her as Drama Rani. Shreya and I have been working on a model on how do we get women to lead, right? So quick evolution of this model. We interviewed about 50 plus C-level leaders. We tested an online assessment. It was called Growth Compass with over 500 plus women leaders. We also did debriefs with them. But the breakthrough that we had is really sort of this space that Lakshmi is kind of creating for us, which says it's not just one or the other. We are moms. We also have a career. right? So how do we look at it as a holistic lens, work plus home, body and brain, right? So we have factored in neuroscience insights, and we have used, and we believe that this is one of the first situational models for women in leadership in corporate India, right? So I'm very thrilled and happy to announce to you our model. But before we get into that, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of neuroplasticity, right? Neuroplasticity is based on Hebb's law that says neurons that fire together wire together. So the moment you keep thinking a certain way, know that that pathway strengthens, right? Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt and rewire. Initially, people used to think that, theek hai, by the time you're a teenager, 20s, you're done. Recent research has found out that up to 65 years old, right, you can keep learning new things, you can build on your neuroplasticity, your brain has the capacity to build new neural pathways. So somebody who says I am like this only, that's the saddest thing. You are not like this only. Okay, you can change, you can develop, you can be a lot more than whoever you choose to be, right? So and this is a fun thing, right? The way that you think actually changes your brain, right? When you think these things, your pathway strengthens, so your brain can actually make those connections, right? So based on that, I'm now going to show you the model. Very, very simple, very holistic, very, very easy to understand. We talk about 5 elements. There are 4 that I'm going to share, and then the 5th one. So the first one is fire, right? So we talk about the way that we behave, the way that we think. There are 4 different ways typically in which people think. So the first is fire, which is your drive and vision, which is the spark that ignites your action. 2 is water, which is empathy. I think of it as a glue that binds the teams. Third is wind, adaptability and creativity. So this is very, very, I call it the breeze that comes in. Earth, stability and structure, the anchor that keeps things steady. And I'll give you an example, right? If I may, if I can take Lakshmi's example, for instance, right? Now, Lakshmi had the fire to say, I want to do something for women, right? I want to make a difference. When she was speaking, you could hear that in her. Water, she has empathy. She has empathy for all the women because she's like, I know what it is to be a mom and I feel for that. That is the empathy coming in. Adaptability, she has so many ideas. The first time I spoke to her, she spoke to me about 20 different things. I would say we can do 3 things, she'll give me 20 different things, right? Because she has so many ideas. And look at it, we started with Zumba, then we're going into neuroscience, then we're going into psychology. So she can see the range of ideas that are popping up in her head. And lastly, earth structure. Right? Without the structure, all of us would not be sitting here, so many of us in this room. Right? I'll get into a little bit in detail. So first, I'm just going to walk you through very quickly on fire. Fire is essentially the courage to act. Right? It is the spark that energizes. When you use it at office, in office you will use it to break inertia. Right? You're stuck in a project, in emergencies. Right? If there's an emergency in office, you will use fire. When you use it at home, your child is stuck at home, is not moving, move her on, right? Rallying the family during chaos. Water. Water's ability to connect, right? And for some of us, this comes very naturally. My sense in this room, we'll have a lot of water as well, right? All of us said leadership is empathetic. This is the empathy side, the ability to create psychological safety, calming tense situations. At home, you're the safe space. In office, you could be building strong, loyal teams. So let's say there's a product launch that's happening. You will use fire, but you're building a product, you need to use water, right? You need to use a water behavior or the water energy to build people, to get people together. Wind, right? Wind is your adaptability and creativity, ideas, flexibility. Where will you use it? At work, you're stuck, it's not moving, get in fresh ideas. Brainstorming sessions, get in fresh ideas. When do you use it at home? When you want to lighten the tension, you want to play some fun games with your children, that's when you use the wind energy. Earth is stability. Now, I'll be honest, I struggle with earth, okay? Structure and processes, like my colleague Gopal knows, right? That is not a strength of mine. Essence is consistency. How do you create? How do you anchor? So at work, you will use it for processes. A project is going really fast. Use the earth energy to start getting the project on track. Lastly, at home, when will you use it? When you keep family routines predictable, offer safety, right? And Okay, so I want to do a show of hands now. Okay, so this is for you guys. How many of us believe we lead with fire? Right? Your passion, drive, unstoppable energy. If you lead with fire, give me a V. Give me a V if you lead with fire. Yeah? Okay, we have a lot of V's in the room. Okay, how many of us lead with water? Water is empathy, flow, adaptability. Let's make a wave. Can we try a wave with water? Nice! Oh my god, the entire room is waving. Okay, beautiful. How many of us lead with wind, ideas, creativity, juggling? Okay, give me a big wave. All right? Okay, and how many of us lead with earth energy, grounding? Give me a fist, a closed fist. Nice. Okay, I feel better. There are not too many earths around. Good job. All right. Okay. So the idea is to say, how do you harness the power of fire, water, wind, earth to lead with balance and power? There's also a fifth element, okay, that in India we call Akasha, right? Akasha. For me, that represents purpose. What is the purpose? Or in this particular case, what is the situation? In what situation would you use fire? In what situation would you use wind? And when you combine the three, four is when you see magic, right? When you combine fire and wind, you get agility and vision, right? You combine drive and structure, right? That's mix of fire and earth, right? So you need to see what are your combinations and what is making sense for you. Now, way forward. Like I said, spoke about neuroscience because we are attuned to thinking in a certain way, right? I use a lot of fire and work typically, fire and wind. But at home, when my daughter comes in crying, I will snap at her with fire. Is that a great thing to do? No, she's crying, poor thing. She needs some help. And what did I do? I snap at her with fire because I am so used to working with fire and wind, right? So, how do you use the right energy? So, first, spot your style. Are you solving, connecting, structuring, exploring? Are you the fire starter, water cooler, windstorm, or rock? Right? We did a quick show of hands, right? So, figure out first what is the right style. Two, anchor it in your element. When you have the right element, you flow. The wrong element, you will burn out, right? I'll give you a quick example of how it looks when you're burned. Fire, literally, if you keep doing so many things, you're on fire. Sometimes, at work, you're just punching on regardless. What happens? What happens when you're punching on so much? You burn out. Absolutely, you burn out. And all of us have been there at some point of time. Two, if you're overusing water, you're over accommodating, you're listening to everybody's Dukhi Atma story. What happens to you? You only become dukhi. We drown, right? You take on everybody's emotions and we drown, right? So what do? So when you're overusing fire, shift to water, slow down. If you're overusing water, you can either shift to earth or you can also shift to fire where you move on, right? You pick something and move on. Wind, if you're taking too many things at the same time, what happens to you? You want to do this, you want to do this, there are 20 things up in the air. You get lost. That's the best word. You get lost, right? There's so many things that you want to do. You get lost. You scatter, right? Ideally, I would say you can shift to fire or you can shift to earth where you say you pick one and you build a structure around it. Lastly, earth, if you over rely on routines, you say this is the only way to do things and I will put 20 processes in place. What happens? Nothing. You're stuck. You had it. Absolutely. Bingo. Well done. Okay. And lastly, this was some fun examples, right? I already gave you the first one. The third one happens to me a lot, right? The child's room is in a mess. You go there to yell at her. You end up showing her some Instagram video about a dog laughing, right? And that's it. Gone, right? So I want to leave you with this. Your brain was never meant to be the family hard drive, right? So I want you to think about how can we change. And let me also tell you, your brain is unfortunately working against you. And I'll explain why. Your brain is 2% of your body weight. It takes up 20% of your energy. And when you are working hard and listening, it takes up to 30% of your energy. So if you want cookies in the break, please take those cookies. Okay? On an average, you have 50,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Your conscious thoughts, which is governed by your prefrontal cortex is only 5%. 5% people. And I'm sure you look at me like, that cannot be possible. And I'll give you an example. Yeah. Let's say you're wearing a pair of pants. You decide that you're going to wear this pant today. Will you decide which leg to put your leg in? Which pant side? Happens automatically, right? That is your unconscious or primal brain at work 95% of the time. And lastly, your brain is trained 2x times, 2x times to avoid risk than reward. Thank you, evolution, because if the saber-toothed tiger ate you today, that's it, gone, tata, bye-bye. Right? So your brain is always trying to keep you safe by keeping you with what you know best. Right? So know that change is not hard, but neuroplasticity, right? The ability to make those changes. I love the term either tiny habits, atomic habits, you can Google it. Make any one change, right? I want you to just take a minute, open up your notepad that you were writing on your phone, and think about one small change that you will make for the week. One, make it a tiny goal. In this, if you lead with mostly with fire and water, think about saying, okay, I will take one element of introducing wind into my life. Can I ask you to make that change? Please write it down. You can punch it down in your phones. Small change. It doesn't have to be today I'm fire, tomorrow onwards I will be only water. Nahi hoga. Can I introduce one small element of wind in the way I do things next time? Maybe I will come up with 3 different ideas before I commit to one. Any small change that you can think of that is specific to you. And lastly, I want to leave you with this. When you reclaim your mental load, you're not just reclaiming your mind, you're making space for moments that matter. So please choose one thing, try it once a week for 4 weeks, and notice what happens when the chaos in your brain gets a little quieter, because you, my friend, were never meant to be everything, everywhere, all at once. Thank you. That's my LinkedIn. You can add me. Thank you.
Mom Power 360, an empowering community for moms just like you and me.